Hello everyone, welcome to Witch Sauce. Today we're going to be looking at some messages from your shadow self. And for those of you who are not familiar, the shadow self is known as the subconscious, tucked away, hidden part of ourselves that we do not ordinarily consciously face day to day, but that informs our behaviors, how we perceive the world, how we interact with the world, some of the negative sides to ourselves. And really, it's something that we do not usually square away with unless we make conscious effort to do so, whether through spirituality, through therapy, or from other forms of self-discovery and self-healing. And that is what we're going to be looking at today. Just some messages, advice, guidance from your shadow self, some of the challenges you might currently be facing, and how you may overcome those challenges, and some guidance in those regards. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Please meditate on a pile, make your selection, like, comment, and subscribe if you like this reading, or if it resonated, leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, and thank you as always for joining me here today. So let's get right into it. Hello and welcome pile 1 to your reading. As the title and the preamble to this video suggests, we're going to be looking at what messages our shadow self has for us, or specifically, of course, for you today. And I have pulled some tarot and some oracle cards, and of course, if I am called to shuffle and pull some additional cards during this reading, I will do so, just depending on how it goes. But I think that the messages that have come through for you today are very, very clear. So starting off, we have the Two of Swords. So the Two of Swords is a very interesting card, and what a perfect representation for this reading overall. And really, obviously, there is a meaning to the Two of Swords in the ordinary sense. I really get the sense from this card that there is a sincere duality to you. There is the part of you that you show the world, and then the part of you that you keep hidden. And obviously, for the context of this reading, this could be your shadow self. This could be the parts of yourself that you're not really comfortable revealing to the world, revealing to the people that you come in contact with quite easily. And there is this hidden duality to you that you likely are aware of and confront. So I don't really think that you're somebody who is inexperienced with dealing with the parts of you that might be a little bit more unpleasant, a little bit more private and personal and hidden and tucked away. So I do think that you're somebody who has done shadow work, or has begun to perform forms of shadow work. And I do think that this is indicative of the fact that you are aware of the presence of your shadow self, and aware of the presence of these dualities and these complexities to your nature. So this should not be coming as a shock to you, because again, I do think that you're someone that's informed, and a lot of the cards that I pulled for you today really speak to this duality. But that's what we're starting off with, the Two of Swords. So let's see what else we've got for you. We have the Two of Wands, again, looking at this duality, and 1111 coming up here could be a significant number for you. Then we have the Queen of Wands reversed, and this isn't really a negative card. The Queen of Wands, again, is this creative force, this incredibly confident, creative, and just steadfast force that is quite, like I said, I really love to see the Queen of Wands in a reading. I don't know if you've had any readings on this channel before, or have observed any readings on this channel, but I do love seeing the Queen of Wands. I really think she represents just kind of who I would want to be. But she's reversed here, and this doesn't mean anything negative. And in fact, it solidifies for me that you have been doing the shadow work. You have been engaging with your shadow self and trying to commune with that part of yourself, because when she shows up reversed, it's more so you're now coming into communion with those parts and facets of yourself, and gaining confidence and perseverance from those parts and facets of yourself. And I do think that you are somebody who is on that path, on that trajectory, or you're about to go into that path and trajectory. And then I have the Star and the Sun. And again, I really get the sense here from the presence of these two cards that you are really starting to integrate with these dual parts and facets of yourself. So one of the things that is coming through very strongly is I think you might be somebody who works in a space or engages with people for whom appearances are important, not really so much physical appearances, but really putting forward a socially acceptable part of yourself, if that makes any sense. A part of yourself that is a part that you are able to show the world because you know that the world accepts it freely. So, you know, you're able to engage in dialogues that are freely accepted, tell jokes that are freely accepted, share thoughts and ideas that are freely accepted. But perhaps this is very daunting and exhausting to you because with this star, when you see these two side by side, you can very much see that the star has all of this vibrant, vivid color. There's all of these fireworks and all of this magnetism and eccentric imagery, I suppose, just very eccentric imagery and color, light, and life that is actually heightened by the presence of darkness. So the fact that we can see the stars is obviously because it's dark and the sun isn't out. And I think that the real inherent true parts of yourself are the parts that come out when you are dealing and engaging with the darker parts of yourself, with the hidden, shrouded parts of yourself. So I get the sense, like I said, that you have to put on a forward-facing persona in order to feel socially accepted in environments such as work, among friends, among your family. But when you are by yourself, you get to really, really immerse yourself in who you truly are, your real identity. When the two pieces, the two halves collide, you really have all of this color, creativity, and energy that radiates from you. And again, with the Two of Swords and the Two of Wands, is I feel like you are grappling with these two dualities. You're on the cusp of making a decision of whether you want to really emerge and show to others these hidden parts of yourself, this hidden creativity. Perhaps, you know, you have ideas and thoughts that ordinary people would look at and think, okay, that's really strange, that's really weird, I don't really like that. Not in any way that is, you know, immoral or illegal or anything like that. Just more so that there are elements of ourselves that practically we cannot put out in the world. So speaking from my own personal experience, nobody aside from my closest friends knows that I practice magic or that I do tarot. It is a completely hidden part of myself, and I've never in public been able to talk about it. But this is my secret space, this channel, and the work that I'm doing here is entirely my own secret space. And because it exists, I am able to put on a mask and go out into the world and pretend like I'm an ordinary person and I don't have these facets to myself. And that is very important, to have that balance. But I think what you're struggling with is you really want to reveal those parts of yourself more publicly and in a more forthright manner, in a way that's not going to necessarily like raise eyebrows or make people question who you are or misunderstand. That's the other thing, is that you're very concerned about being misunderstood by the people that you want to show these parts to. But let's see what else you have here. You have the Answer the Call card here. So again, this really solidifies to me that you're being pushed to reveal these true, inherent, essential parts of yourself instead of shrouding them behind facade and a mask. And you're being pushed to talk about the parts of you that aren't so pretty, aren't so publicly acceptable, or, you know, just that you can just openly discuss with everybody around you instead of seeking out the right people who understand you. You just really want to be yourself, because I'm getting the sense that it's very physically and emotionally draining to wear that mask and to put forward that facade, to present yourself in this tidy, I'm hearing the word Instagram, and I think Instagram in the sense of like, Instagram is the polished version of ourselves, and that prettified, just entirely just consumer friendly is another word that I'm hearing. The prettified consumer friendly version of ourselves that you can put out there and nobody's going to judge or criticize you. I'm feeling that you have significant exhaustion from doing that. And in this card especially, you can see that she's in a place of solitude and safety. She's surrounded by all of these beautiful colors. And I feel like these are the colors that live within you that you just cannot share and put out there. But what I'm hearing is that there's a community of people just like you. There are people who think like you. There are people, even if they don't think like you, there are people who can benefit from what you have to offer. And so if it is experiences in your life that aren't that pretty or are dark or are unacceptable to talk about over coffee with a colleague or in a public setting, there are people who will benefit from your experience and what you have to say and how you have to say it and how you present the things that are challenging to you. So if you're, for example, someone who practices magic and you feel like, okay, I am in a conservative household, I grew up in a particular way, I can't talk about the fact that I practice magic, I can't talk about these parts of myself, there is a call to emerge from that way of thinking and put it out there and take that leap of faith, because ultimately you're going to be happier, more well-rounded, and more true to your authentic, essential self. Because you also have the work through your fears card here. So I do think that you're incredibly fearful. And look, it's just like it's pretty eclipsed and there's a small light shining through. And again, I just feel like for you, there is a part of you that is largely hidden, largely eclipsed, and largely just non-explicable, but you want to be able to put it out there and to explain it and to have that very important critical connection with someone else that validates your experiences and validates how you feel and how you are living through the world and moving through the world. So if there are parts of you that are hidden, that are eclipsed, that aren't socially appropriate necessarily in a way that you can just have those discussions, definitely there is a call to emerge from those blocks and boundaries that you put up for yourself. The other thing that I got when I was pulling these cards is phobias. The word phobias came to my mind, and I feel like you're someone who likely deals with a lot of anxiety, likely social anxiety, likely anxiety about your choices, where you want to go, what you want to do. There's probably a lot of criticism around you, which feeds into that anxiety, probably parents, friends, your academic and social circles. There is definitely a preconception of how you should act and how you should be. And you have a very deep fear of really showing the parts of you that are not suitable for those containers that other people are trying to put you in. And I feel like it causes you a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and a lot of worry and fear. And you're constantly aware and alert about how you're presenting yourself and how you're talking to people. So I'm hearing you're probably somebody who wants to say something in a given situation, but holds back because you think, oh, this is going to be, I want to say this because this is my inherent truth, but I can't say it because this person is going to be taken aback or have a negative reaction, or I'm, not going to be perceived as the happy-go-lucky people pleaser, appeaser anymore. And that is something that I've been hiding underneath and giving myself to cope. But I definitely think that, again, there's a pull to be more authentic to yourself, because again, there's quite a lot of duality in these cards. The other thing I have is Clover, release your guilt. Once again, I think this card speaks to your upbringing or your current state of being that makes you feel guilty. And I really love this card again because it goes back to what I'm saying. You can see this fire burning behind them, like they're burning the parts of them that are no longer suitable, the parts of them that don't feed their soul, that doesn't contribute to their happiness. and they're sitting there in this beautiful field of flowers sort of together. And again, this duality, there's twos, there's the Two of Swords, the Two of Wands, the sun and the star, just so much duality to you. I really sincerely think that the strongest, clearest message here is you need to release what you are hiding. And you don't have to do this all in one go. Like if you're thinking, oh, you know, I can't do it, it's too scary. If I just unleash myself onto the world, I'm going to lose friends, I'm going to lose some of that reputation I've built. Like I said, I think some of you may be people pleasers. You're really afraid of speaking your truth. You're really afraid of speaking your mind because you're afraid of how the people receiving that information are going to take it, how they're going to handle it. And you're so concerned about what everybody else thinks that you're really limiting your own personal growth and your own personal experience. And there could be guilt for that reason, because you might, you know, some of you might want, sorry, I'm getting something. So for example, some of you might have difficulties with your parents or family members, and they might be doing stuff that's hurtful or pissing you off and just really bringing you down, and they're doing it repeatedly. And there's a part of you that just wants to say, stop it, or here's how I feel, and to let that out. But you're contained by the facade and the mask that you've built for yourself and the identity you've created for yourself instead of the truth of who you are. And really, I'm getting the sense that that's what holds you back. And there's this guilt of like, if I do share these parts of myself, or if I do share how I feel and I tell you exactly what I'm feeling, I'm then later on going to regret it and I'm going to feel guilty. But those are all impressions and what are the words? Impressions of our shadow self. So imprints, I suppose, those are things that are imprinted onto us, usually because of our experiences that are darker in nature than the positive experiences that we have. And because of that, we feel guilt, but we're confusing guilt with sort of the modus operandi of the world, how the world works and how the world operates and how the world wants us to operate and how the world wants us to look, exist, feel, and share or not share these intimate parts of ourselves. So that guilt, you really need to assess. One of the messages for you, Pile 1, is you need to assess whether that's really guilt that is genuine or guilt that has been forced onto you. So if you have a family member that's ridiculing you or making you feel like crap, and you want to tell them to stop, or you want to tell them how you feel, but you feel like you're going to ruin the family dinner, or you're going to ruin whatever the get together that you're at by expressing your feelings. Now, is that guilt that you deserve to carry, or is that guilt that isn't actually guilt, but a social construct, if that makes any sense? So I think that that's part of the work that you have to do. The other card I have for you here is Lioness, and it says you've earned all of your stripes. So the other thing I'm getting for you, again, with this duality, dichotomy, social construct versus who we inherently are, is I feel like some of you might have body issues or issues related to your physical appearance that you are constantly grappling with. Because and duality is even present in this card, right? You have a mermaid right here in the background, and she's sitting here and she's got her legs and she's reading a book. Again, duality, right? Because the mermaid had to sacrifice her tail and her underwater kingdom so that she could fit in. I am really strongly feeling, and I mean, this message is very clear, Pile 1. I think it's pretty apparent what's going on here. I really think that you are sacrificing the inherent parts of yourself to appease the outside world, literally, because in Little Mermaid, it is the outside world that she is appeasing and trying to fit into, even though she is sacrificing all of the beautiful part. I've always hated the Little Mermaid. I've loved and hated the Little Mermaid. It's one of my favorite stories ever, but not for the reasons that you think, because I look at it and I go like, okay. And I really prefer the story of Christian Andersen, like the original story where it's a tragic ending and she loses everything, including her life. And I think that that's really the message here, because if you're not careful and you're giving up your voice and you're giving up your true essential self to appease and to fit in And what a better time for this message with everything going on with the royal family, for example. You're sacrificing too much for very little in return. Because just because you're fitting in right now and things are hunky-dory and you're hiding all of these parts of yourself doesn't mean that that's something you're going to be able to keep up and not burn out and not lose yourself in the process. So number one, I think that some of you struggle with body confidence issues. And number two, again, there's a strong message of duality and forcing yourself to fit where you might not fit. If you do have body confidence issues, think of where they're coming from. Identify the source of where they're coming from. Are you yourself unhappy about something with your body? Or is it that the world around you and the people around you are telling you how you should look and how you should feel and pushing you into a box that you might not fit into? And like I said, the message from your shadow self is you've earned all of your stripes. Your body, the vessel that you're put into, the vessel that you're currently existing in, is doing so much to keep you alive, to sustain you, to fight off bacteria, viruses, illnesses, disease constantly. You're not even aware of it. And your body is what carried you to this point. And you have to be kinder to it, but even more so, any scars or imperfections that you might have, they're all part of the narrative. They're all part of your journey. So you have to be, at the very least, appreciative of your vessel and what it's done for you. And then if you have self-confidence issues related to your body, figure out, is it really how I feel about myself, or is it something that others in the world is projecting onto me? And I feel like that's a pretty clear message for you, pile one, as well. And so the last two cards are very positive. So I want to end on a high note. I have happiness and bravery. So this is really the thing. In order to be happy, you have to be brave, and you have to be able to shatter expectations, to shatter how people feel and see you and perceive you in order to achieve that ultimate happiness, pile one. And it's not easy. It's going to take a lot of work, but your guides are behind you and they're working with you, and they're going to show you the ways in which you can escape the toll and the burden of being inauthentic or hiding parts of yourself. And you will get there. Don't rush yourself. It's a process. Take it little by little, and you will achieve that balance and strike that balance between the duality and the dichotomy that is currently present within you. So that is what I have for you, pile one. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like this reading. Let me know in the comments if it resonated, and I hope to see you again very soon. Hello, pile two, and welcome to your reading. So as the title and preamble suggests, we're going to be looking at some messages from your shadow self, and we're going to see what insight or advice there is for you. I've already pre-shuffled the cards, and I'm just going to go through them. If there are any clarifiers that I think might be helpful, I will go ahead and pull those as well. And we're just going to move through this reading. My cat is chilling with me, so maybe he might interfere, but hopefully not. Okay, so let's start with the first card that I pulled for you in tarot, and you have the Ten of Wands. So this card already tells me quite a bit about you. So number one, the Ten of Wands, of course, speaks to burdens, difficulties, challenges, carrying a very large and loaded weight. And one of the things that's coming through for me already is you might be somebody who has mental health conditions or physical conditions, or a mixture of both. There is something about you that makes your life difficult or challenging, or a little bit more challenging than others, you know, other people's lives, or how other people approach the world. There's something different about you inherently that you cannot change, you can only manage, and this creates quite a lot of difficulty for you in your day-to-day life and in how you navigate the world. And so just off the bat, I feel like you and pile one have a lot in common. So you might want to check out pile one, because I see this very clear depiction of a woman wearing a mask. And it's pulled outward. So it's not just that you're wearing a mask, it is a very painful mask to wear. So I get the very overwhelming sense that if you do have mental health conditions or physical conditions, you're not somebody who reaches out for help often. And for that reason, you kind of get overlooked, and your difficulties and struggles get overlooked and buried beneath how you present yourself to the world. People might not even be aware of your difficulties or just happy to ignore them. So that makes it very difficult for you to navigate the world and to navigate the day-to-day, because you are someone, I'm hearing, lacking energy. You might be somebody who suffers from chronic pain or conditions that really zap your energy and make you very tired and make it, like I said, just much more difficult to navigate the world. So that's what's coming out right away. Then we have the Sun card. And I find the Sun card very, very interesting because obviously the Sun is about happiness, joy, or the bright and lighter things, just the things that make things a little bit more enjoyable, fun, playful, lighthearted, especially in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot, where it's depicted by a child on top of a lion, I believe. I can't remember. Maybe it's not the Rider-Waite that I'm thinking of, but I'm definitely thinking of an image on a tarot card where it's a child riding on the back of a lion, and it's just this amazing, it's overcoming challenges, difficulties, brighter days. So very positive. But I think with this card being depicted almost in the dark, and the Sun looks very fatigued. Again, I think that you may be somebody who suffers from chronic conditions that make your life a little bit more difficult when compared to others, or a lot more difficult when compared to others. Not to diminish you at all. I'm someone who very much empathizes with that. I have my own host of issues and challenges, so I can very much understand this. But I feel like because the Sun is in this darkness, it's almost not emitting light. I feel like there's something that is really stifling you from emitting the light that you want to emit, or that you should be emitting. Again, and I think this, I'm just getting a very strong sense that this particular pile has a lot of physical and mental health challenges tied to their day-to-day life and experience, because you have a very beautiful bright light, but especially with sort of the Sun's running makeup and dark lipstick, there's just something that makes your day-to-day very difficult and burdensome for you, especially with the Ten of Wands. But let's see what else we've got here. I'll just go ahead and lay out the rest of the cards. We have the Knight of Pentacles. We have the Seven of Swords. Again, lots of masking imagery happening here, so you might want to check out pile 1. And then we have the Queen of Cups. So let's just focus on the tarot cards here for a second. I think you're somebody who is incredibly diligent and hardworking, and there's a lot of things you want to accomplish and do. There's a spark inside of you with that Sun card. There's just something that there's so much that you want to do, but perhaps you find yourself drained or zapped because you're battling these other comorbidities at the same time. So you're not as efficient as you want to be and as effective as you want to be because of these difficulties. And if you are struggling with energy issues and you are struggling with mental health issues and you haven't sought help, I strongly urge you to do so. Of course, I'm not a medical professional and this is not medical advice, but if you haven't sought help, I'm hearing that for some of you, that's a really big step in the right direction. So do seek out help, especially if there are things that are holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve. That's a message for you, pile 2. You definitely want to go see someone who might be able to help you navigate those burdens if you're not already. But if you are, then I'm hearing you have to be a little bit more gentle with yourself, because if you are not neurotypical, if you're neurodivergent, if you have physical disabilities that make life difficult for you to navigate, you cannot place as heavy as a burden on yourself and expectations that might be harder for you to meet. And the other thing that I'm hearing is some of you are not seeking help. Again, with that Ten of Wands, some of you are not seeking help and you're not asking for accommodation or support when you should be. And that will, again, help alleviate. I didn't notice that this box is here. I don't know if my cat pushed it into the frame, but you're not seeking help, you're not speaking out. And that's actually very interesting because I do get a very distinct sense that you're not speaking And especially with this, again, lots of masking. So hiding how you're feeling, hiding your experiences, not speaking out, because you have here, especially her mouth is taped over with like a fake grimace. Like it's a smile, but it's a fake one, and it's a very painful smile. So I think that it takes for you a lot more energy and effort to do the day-to-day things that everybody else can kind of glide through. People who are not suffering from disabilities or mental health issues, they can just glide through them, breeze through them, but you, it's just painful for you. It's much more difficult. So one of the things that you need to focus on is getting help, because you deserve it. And not only do you deserve it, you need it. You need that help. So don't be afraid to speak out if you need assistance in navigating your world and navigating your spaces in order to feel safer or happier or healthier in those spaces. Do get those supports, and usually they will be extended to you. You might just be afraid to ask for them because you're so busy putting on a face, putting on a mask, that your needs are being ignored. And also that goes to, the same applies for when people are saying things around you that may be triggering, or having discussions that are triggering, that are painful. You might sit there and smile, but inside you're having a very difficult time. Ask for that help. Tell them to stop. Build the boundaries. You have to focus on building the appropriate boundaries around yourself in order to be able to navigate the world. Know when to say stop, know when to say no more, and assert yourself. That's another big thing. You have to assert yourself a little bit more, because this is about you, and forget others. If you're in pain, if you're suffering, if you're struggling, and if you're being set back, because with the Knight of Pentacles, I know that you're somebody who's very motivated and energized to do things well, effectively, and successfully, but you're struggling. And I think that you tend to nag on yourself and bring yourself down when you're not succeeding in those areas. But you can't run on a broken leg. You can't run on a broken leg. You can't sprint on a broken leg. You need to address your pain and be honest about it. And who cares what everybody else thinks? Because, not to be, I guess, dismissive, but it's the law. So at the very minimum, asking for the help that you deserve, that you need to navigate this world, needs to be extended to you, because in a lot of spaces, it's the law to do that. And beyond that, it's just self-assertion and helping yourself be heard so that you can navigate those spaces. And with the Queen of Cups here, I think that you have a beautiful, bustling internal world, because you see here all of these objects. She has like cats. There's a little Sailor Moon wand in there. All of these bottles that are full, and all of these potions. I think you have a beautiful internal world. You probably love fantasy. You probably love stories and books and movies, and you have a very beautiful, fantastical mind that you retrieve into, and that is where you find your space of solitude, and that's where you refill your cup when it's drained. So when you're going about the day-to-day and you're feeling drained and you're feeling defeated, you retrieve into this beautiful sacred space where you get to fill yourself up on all of these things that you love. And it's good to go back to those places for safety and sanctuary. But that's not enough. You do also need to work on making your external world friendlier to you and easier to you, even if you have this refuge. But nevertheless, if that's where you go to refill yourself and bring yourself back to normal, do it. And ensure that you're making time to do it so that you can once again feel whole. The other thing is you're likely dabbling with magic and spirituality. And this is a good thing because, again, you're bringing yourself closer to yourself and your authentic self. You're trying to identify your needs. You're trying to be more emboldened and powerful. And especially with the Queen of Cups, which speaks all about emotion and that... and the importance of having balance in our emotion, having that equilibrium and having that peace and that calm and that serenity. The Queen of Cups, she is who she is, but at the end of the day, she's represented by water, and water can either be very calming or it can brew up a storm. And it's really important to avoid the point of where you're in that stormy, chaotic, discombobulated state, so that you don't drain yourself further, so you don't create more damage, and so that you're focusing on healing and peace and bringing yourself back to that calm, consistent, and sobering place. Because especially if you do suffer from pain, if you suffer from mental health issues, it's very easy for our minds to become consumed with that and to become irrational and to become unnecessarily cruel and to direct that inward. So it is important that with that watery energy that you're finding more of the calmer waters and the peaceful waters and finding the places that make you calm. And if you do need to escape and retreat, it is absolutely imperative that you do so, and don't let anybody tell you that you are being rude or you're being selfish when you need periods of time to turn off. That's another thing I'm hearing. Some of you might need periods of time to turn off from socializing or from talking to people because it can be very draining. Assert those boundaries, because sometimes you need to spend time in solitude just to feel a little bit better. Let's see. So the other card I have for you, is the answers are coming, full moon in Gemini. And I do notice that there is the Seven of Swords here. And one of the other things for you, Pile 2, is I feel like some of you may have been indoctrinated from an early age, maybe recently. It really just depends, to a false system of beliefs, or a system of beliefs that doesn't bring out the best of you. Like I said, some of you may be dabbling in magic and spirituality. Perhaps you're breaking away from a system of beliefs that doesn't suit you anymore, that isn't compatible with you anymore. Because again, with the Seven of Swords, I feel like a lot of you have been told a lot of untruths about yourself, about the world, about how the world works. And some of you are working on stepping out of that and finding your own personal truth, your own sincerity, and the things that feel authentic to you. And the other card I have for you is Trust Your Path. So it asks, if you knew you would be supported, what would you do? So I get the sense that some of you are lacking support in your immediate circles, or you are surrounded by people who criticize and put you down and do not uplift you in the way that you deserve to be uplifted. So what you're being told is trust your path, even if you have to go at it alone. So if you're seeking out truth and you're seeking out, you know, your own form of spirituality or your own form of how to manage your feelings, your external and internal world, and you might not have that support, it is telling you to go anyway and forge your own path, and eventually the support will come. The right people will come. So even if you're feeling like right now you don't have the proper support, you do not have the proper people behind you, or people are taking away from you instead of building with you, don't worry that you're being told not to worry. The right people will come once you start taking those steps in the right direction. You will find what it is that you're looking for, even though right now it might feel like that's just not happening. So again, so I have dragons, slay them all. So once again, this just reinforces my belief that some of you may have physical disabilities. As you can see, this girl has a prosthetic leg. And again, I think some of you might be resonating with that aspect, but it says dragons, slay them all. And I think once again, with the 10 of Wands, with the 7 of Swords, and just my intuition, I guess, picking up on the fact that some of you with that 10 of Wands represented by your burdens and your challenges and your difficulties, this is telling you to slay them all. So you are someone who has all of the power, force, confidence, dexterity, strength, and perseverance that you need to fight the battles that anyone else can fight. And in fact, I feel like you have a unique approach to the world because of your struggles and your difficulties, and you have even more to give the world than someone who doesn't have those same struggles and those difficulties. So I really love this card for you because you have these 4 dragons. Kind of, some of you might have people in your life who are toxic. So one of the things that I'm seeing is that there might be people around you that are toxic. It could be 4. Maybe the fact that there's 4 dragons on this card that are visible is indicative of 4 toxic people that you need to cut out of your life. You actually have another sword card that I'm going to get to in a second that says very interesting. There's a lot of cutting things out of your life coming through here. So if there are people in your life or dragons or negative forces or things that are looming, especially with these dragons looming around this fortress, I feel like the fortress in this card is representing your home, your sanctuary, your personal space, but also your internal space, the space you've carved out for yourself internally. There are invaders into that space, and you're being told to cut them out, slay them, battle them, face them, deal with them, do whatever you need to do to put them away permanently, forever, and not look back. And you can do that even if you feel that navigating that world and taking those steps may be difficult. You have that fortitude inside of you, and you can 100% do it, even if it feels like you can't. But you are being called to tackle that, to deal with that, and to cut that out, because I feel like it is interfering with your happiness. The other card we have here is Sword, Make the Change, and you can see that she's cutting off her hair. So again, that cutting off, cutting out, and obviously hair is dead. And when we cut our hair, we're just cutting off dead matter. And again, I really get the sense that some of you need to cut something out of your life, whether it's people or impressions that people have instilled upon you. You are being called to face, tackle, and deal with those issues and get rid of them however you need, because again, hair is dead. And a lot of our, especially in quarantine, we're all carrying around like inches upon inches of dead, gross hair, and we just need to cut it off. That's just literal interpretation of it, but also just the metaphorical interpretation of needing to get rid of the things that no longer serve us and detract from us, and that we're carrying just on our head, just that extra dead weight that isn't helping us in any way, shape, or form. So I do think that some of you have toxic people in your life, toxic ideas, toxic, with the Seven of Swords, I'm hearing that there are things people have said to you throughout your life that are lies, but they wanted you to believe them because they knew that it would bring you down and it would make them, in contrast, feel better about themselves because they're weak and you're not, and they can sense the strength in you. You're being asked to unpack that and see for what it really is. It's just BS. It's total crap. It doesn't serve you. It only will diminish and detract from who you are and who you're meant to be. And again, you have a lot of knight imagery here, like dragon slay them all, the Knight of Pentacles, like, the Knight of Swords. Oh, sorry, it is Knight of Pentacles. Oh my gosh, I was right the first time. Knight of Pentacles. There's a lot of knight imagery here because I think you're a warrior, and I think that what you've been through only makes you stronger. There's so much, like, just, it's a lot. I don't really look at these when I shuffle. I just shuffle, put them in a stack, and then I kind of go through them on camera. So it's a little bit disjointed, but really I'm overwhelmed with how much warrior imagery is happening here. And again, warriors are there to fight an enemy. Warriors are there to fight something and to get rid of it because it is interfering with, peace. It's interfering in some way, shape, or form with the life that you've created. And I do think that there are things in your life that you need to cut out, resolve, and deal with. And I think a lot of it is toxicity that is external, and lies that are being fed to you or have been fed to you that have now impacted the way that you navigate the world, the way that you see yourself, especially with this mirror image here. The way that you see yourself is being impacted negatively because you're being led to believe untruths and lies and manipulations and distortions of what really is true. And my two final cards here are Truth and Serenity. So again, truth. You are being called to see the truth about yourself. And it's interesting because bittersweet nightshade is a poisonous plant. So it's quite interesting that that's the plant that was selected for this card. I haven't actually read this is a new deck. I haven't read the manual or guidebook for it, but these are pretty straightforward. There is a poison being represented here. And I do think that the poison is very obviously the lies, manipulations, and distortions that have been pushed onto you by others or circumstances that have made you think of yourself one way when truly, realistically, you are a warrior. You're stronger than you think. You're more emboldened than you think. And you really just need to pursue those elements and focus on bringing those elements out and cutting away the bullshit and cutting away the lies or misrepresentations about who you are. And you are headed towards serenity, which is being represented by lavender, which is awesome if you are someone who has quite a lot of stress and needs help with stress or anxiety. Anxiety could be another feature of one of the things that you are battling or dealing or up against. So really, I think just to summarize, you are well on your way to facing these parts of yourself. You're being called to face these parts of yourself. You might be having dreams or feelings, premonitions that are directing you to this, and you're well on your way. So don't stop, carry forward. And thank you so much for watching Pile 2. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like this reading. Let me know in the comments if this reading resonated. Check out Pile 1 because there might be some information there that you might resonate with as well, especially with all that masking imagery here. And I hope to see you again very soon. Welcome to your reading Pile 3. As the title of this video and the preamble to this video suggests, we're going to be looking at some messages from your shadow self to see what kind of insight, advice, or guidance that the cards might provide for you from the perspective of your shadow self. So all of the hidden and tucked away bits of our internal selves that might not be so obvious or readily apparent. So we're going to start off by looking at the tarot. I pre-shuffled this, but I haven't really gone into interpreting it. I just think that sometimes shuffling eats up a lot of time, and I already tend to ramble in these videos. So I'm just going to get right to it. The first card we have for you is the Moon. The second card we have is Temperance in reverse. Then we have the Ten of Swords in reverse. Then we have the Eight of Pentacles. And the Four of Pentacles. All right, so let's just work with the tarot cards first. What do we have here? So number one, Pile 3, the moon is good to see in this type of reading. It obviously shows and speaks to the shrouded, hidden parts of ourselves, things that are secretive, tucked away, maybe not yet revealed. So there's definitely elements to what you're going through that are tucked away and hidden from you at this time. So there might be things that guides or the entities that you're working with, if you do use magic and connect with entities, they're just not showing those things to you right at this moment because they're hidden and they are pending, so to speak. They're just not ready for you to see. Now is not the time. But they are definitely going to be revealed in due time. So there is definitely an element of that. I get the overwhelming sense from these cards, especially with the Temperance card reversed, and with the Ten of Swords reversed, that there has been a period of difficulty or challenge presented in your life. This could be a moment that has caused you tremendous pain and difficulty and burdens, or it could be a series of moments and something that you're working through. With the Temperance reversed, there's very much an indication that things are not balanced for you at this time. So you can be overindulging in food, for example, overindulging in drinking, substances, and things of the like to help self-medicate some of that pain that you've gone through. So there, with the Ten of Swords reversed, I do think that there was a time that the Ten of Swords was upright for you. So you've definitely been struggling with some element or elements, or working through pain or difficulties and unraveling yourself in solitude and in peace, because I do get the sense that things are now turning upright. So if it hasn't happened already and you're currently in that state where you may be self-medicating or relying on things to bring you peace in an exorbitant amount, in an over reliance on things that might not be good for you, there is going to be a time where the Ten of Swords is going to reverse. In a sense, you're going to feel a little bit of relief, a little bit better, and you're not going to need to rely on the things that you've been relying on to guide you and help you through. Especially, perhaps it's the pandemic, perhaps it is the fact that you are in solitude and trying to regain yourself and learn more about yourself and uncover parts of yourself that are causing you pain, or just deal with an incendiary moment or moments that brought you into a painful space. And again, you might not be coping with the pain quite in a healthy way. And that is really up to you to decide how you see those parts of yourself. Obviously, overindulgence can be very difficult and tricky, and you should be very cautious. And if you need help, you should seek that help. But if you are dealing through something quite painful, just know that your fates are about to turn around for sure. The Eight of Pentacles is very interesting for me to see here. I feel like in this time that you have been healing from whatever it is that you're dealing with, you've also picked up some new skills, and perhaps you're working on a new endeavor or a business, or you're trying to pick up things that you've never done before, and you're trying to perfect those things or to learn how to do them well. And it's I feel like it's a very trial and error period of time for you. But whatever it is that you're seeking and trying to do, and whatever it is that you're learning, I feel like there is, with the Four of Pentacles, some connection to your livelihood. You want to profit off of this. You might be concerned about money or a career or a more long-lasting endeavor in your life, and you're learning new skills that you hope to transform into a lucrative business, a career, livelihood, and you're hoping to make those things profitable for you. And I feel like there's a lot of insecurity around your skills because you're just starting out. So there's trial and error, there's mishaps. Things might not be going, especially with this card. I think it represents a beautiful, she's kind of like tangled up. She's got scissors, she's got yarn, she's got a guitar, a camera. Like, this very much speaks to picking up a different skill or skills. Perhaps you're doing more than one thing and you're trying to learn more than one thing so that you can turn it into a lucrative endeavor. And you're feeling like you're twisted up in knots, especially with this picture. On this particular deck, which, I love these decks. They're so beautiful and colorful and vibrant and eclectic and super cool. And I think with this particular deck, you can very much tell that she's kind of tied into knots and kind of has all of these arms going. And so I do think that you have more than one project up in the air, and you are feeling a little bit insecure because maybe the results aren't coming along as swimmingly as you would like, and you're struggling, but that's okay because it's part of the process. So I'm hearing trust the process is what I'm hearing. And you are being called to trust the process, because with enough time and effort, you will succeed in these endeavors. It's just going to take a lot of effort, and I'm hearing also, especially with the Eight of Pentacles, which tends to sometimes represent apprenticeship, you might benefit from looking at tutorials or seeking some kinds of courses or mentorship in some shape or form to help cultivate that skill, because sometimes it's very unique, specific knowledge that you need to make things easier for yourself in this progress that you're taking, in this endeavor that you're going and taking onto yourself. So if you're struggling, you're feeling insecure, you're feeling like you're not getting it, or you're trying, number one, you will get it. if it's meant to be, it'll be. And I feel like for you, especially with all of these endeavors and the fact that the 10 of Swords is turning upside down, I feel like whatever that you're using to help sharpen your skills is actually helping bringing you out of a funk, or bring you out of this negative space that you were in, and helping reverse that 10 of Swords for you, and helping you move away from the imbalanced, unhealthy mode of coping that you might have been in previously. But I think the trajectory of how this will come to be and how this will come to be lucrative is still hidden from you. You're not quite sure as to how you're going to take what you are learning and how you're going to turn that into a lucrative endeavor. It's not quite obvious right now, but it will become obvious in time. So let's see. You have, again, to kind of confirm my suspicion, it says you are already doing it. Stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. So again, this reaffirms to me that whatever it is that you're picking up right now, whatever it is that you're trying to learn from scratch, do not be cruel to yourself, unnecessarily cruel to yourself, or impatient with yourself, because anybody who becomes just proficient in a skill starts off from zero, and has a hard time picking things up. Not all of us are born wunderkinds or geniuses. Some of us really have to cultivate and sharpen a skill by doing it over and over. So do be patient with yourself, and just know that you are already doing it. And I feel like the self-doubt and the deprecation is definitely coming from your shadow self. And that's something that you need to work on. When you're hearing deprecating voices, or you're hearing things that aren't so kind and positive, think to yourself, where is this coming from? Is this reality, or am I just being unduly harsh to myself because of expectations others have built around me? The other card we have here is Awakening. It says energetic upgrades, a new way of being, integration. So again, I'm feeling that you have been through some difficulties, challenges. There have been pitfalls, setbacks, and you are currently awakening and emerging from that stronger and better than ever. I also get the sense with this card that this is divinely guided. And I do get a strong feeling that whatever it is that you're undertaking, you're not going through alone. You're probably going to see signs and synchronicities that you are on the right path. And those are just your guides reminding you you're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. This is going to take time. Keep working on it. Keep chipping away at it. You're going to get where you need to be in due time. So that is another message for you. And then we've got, what do you need to release? So for me, I think that this question ties back to, again, your apprehension and your self-doubt. I think that that's really the part of your shadow self that really resonates with the cards before me, is that I do get a sense that there is just an overwhelming resistance to accepting that you are imperfect, and an overwhelming resistance to being permitted to feel like you are imperfect and to accept that imperfection. Perhaps what you're doing is very strict, and some skills and some musical achievements and things like that have very strict rules around it, strict rules around practice, strict rules around what the final product should be. So I feel like you're being a little bit too harsh on yourself. And if you're posting things publicly, if you're sharing your progress publicly, there's likely people who are very critical towards you. It could be people, if you're someone who posts your work publicly or shares it, or is putting things up for sale, there could be people that are very critical and judgmental and unkind. So those things are also ruminating in your headspace and keeping you down. So you need to release those things and allow yourself to be imperfect, and allow yourself to misstep and be set back and have to start over and scrap and start from scratch. You have to be patient with yourself in that regard and allow yourself to experience those imperfections. So we have sun. Paint the sun back into your sky. And I feel this card's so pretty. And it again reminds me of everything that I have been saying so far. I feel like you have been through something, and I feel like you have very much conquered or are in the process of dealing with something quite painful with that 10 of Swords in reverse. And whatever it is that you're doing to pull yourself out of that funk, again, I think it's a balance, and with the Temperance being reversed, it's an imbalance, right? So you have healthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms in on both ends of that scale. So I think for a while, for some of you, the unhealthy coping mechanisms were taking control, and that's what you were working, because it's easy, right? It's easy for us to find the things that feel safe and secure and comforting, and a lot harder for us to put in effort to build some, in a more and I'm speaking from experience. It's just easy for us to, I feel bad, I'm going to order some junk food, or I'm going to have a glass of wine, and that's how I'm going to deal with it. And it's a lot harder, and it's a testament to your strength and to your effort to go and put it into a positive thing, into something that is going to add instead of subtract. So with this card, I feel like what she's doing in this picture, she's painting literally the sun back into her sky. And I feel like what you're doing currently is using your creative efforts and endeavors to paint the sun back into your sky, literally through creative means. And it could be that the project that you're working on or the business that you're contemplating is a creative one, and it's going to help you work through the negative things that you're feeling, experiencing, or dealing with. So this is a tremendous step forward, and this is, to be applauded in high regard. So if it's painful, if it's difficult, and you're going through those learning curves, again, it's just even more important to be patient with yourself and to be kinder with yourself. And the next card I have here is expectations. Don't seek anyone's approval. Again, just reiterating everything. And I'm sorry if this is repetitive, but the message really needs to be clearly repeated to come across to you, because with her here, it's such a pretty card. I really love this deck. You can tell that she's sitting in this meadow, in this very quiet, secluded space, and she's, by herself, and she's surrounded by these entities. So one of the things I'm hearing is you have guides around you that are leaving you signs, symbols, and little bits and pieces. There's guides around you currently circling around. So I feel like there's one, based on this card, I think like there's one main spirit guide that's probably very loud, and you probably hear or see them more often than the others. But then there's also other entities around you that are hovering around you. But maybe you are in communication with one specific guide or one specific entity that is much more at the forefront. And it's perched on her knee here, and it's almost like she's in solitude. I feel like she doesn't, the way that I'm interpreting this card is she's almost oblivious to this guide perched on her knee, but they're there and they're moving you along. So I feel like some of you might be feeling and experiencing more phenomena, and it's attributed to your guide. And it's likely that when this phenomena happens, you don't feel afraid, you don't feel anxious, you don't feel, like you're being haunted or tormented in some way, shape, or form, but they are communicating with you. So that's one of the things that's coming out for me. And with these 3 other orbs, it's likely that there's other spirits around you. And again, they're all positive, but one dominant spirit is what I'm sensing. And again, this is just a reminder not to seek other people's approval and to forge your own path, and to spend time in solitude. And it seems like if some of you are getting a lot of negative criticism for what it is that you're doing because you're so novice at it or you're so new to it, and there's people who are maybe more experienced in the area and they're not nice people, because, I'm of the belief that if you do something very well, it's amazing if you can help someone else do that thing well as well. And I feel like that's actually part of your responsibility if you are somebody who is exceptional at something. So sometimes people can get very, very negative and critical and nasty, and that's usually because they're threatened. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Why would you be nasty to someone if they're trying to learn and grow? So if there are people in your space, in your circle, online that are criticizing you, criticizing your efforts, and criticizing what it is that you're trying to do, just remind yourself that you don't need to seek anybody's approval to get where you need to go. Their opinions don't matter, and usually they're nasty words. If they're unhelpful, they're not constructive. That's all it is just nastiness. And it's usually from a place of low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and just being threatened. So you might be competition to someone in a particular field, and they are nasty to you because you're just starting out. So that's something else to think about and remember. And then finally, your last two cards, we have courage and hope. And I think these things speak for themselves. I think you need to have courage in what it is that you're doing. It's likely something that does contain an element of risk, does contain an element of putting yourself out there and putting your art out there, putting whatever it is that you've created, your skill out there. And it does require courage. Like I said, I think some of you are more malleable to letting negative self-talk and negative words impact you and sit with you, whereas you're being called to just be courageous, be brave, and know that you are supported. You're not alone, and you're supported by the things, the spirit guides, the entities, the proper authorities on the matter, so to speak. And do not focus on the chirps and nasty words and nastiness of other people who have no business opening their mouths anyway, because let's be honest, we were all new once. We all started from zero once, and it's unnecessary to be harsh and critical and probably, like I said, just needlessly cruel. And then of course, hope. And I feel like that's something that is easy to say but hard to do, to have hope and faith that something is going to happen, especially with that moon card that started off your tarot read. I do get the sense that there's a hiddenness around what you're trying to accomplish. It's just, if you're doing it and you're not getting where you think you should be at this point, things are moving slowly, things aren't happening as quickly as they should. You are creating things and they're falling apart. They're you know, it's like baking something, and you're following the recipe, you're doing everything correctly, you're putting in the right measurements, but for some freaking reason, when you put it in the oven, it just like flattens and it's just mush and it's crap. And you're like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? It's easy to lose hope and say like, I'm never going to be a good baker. I don't know what I'm doing. I, my arms are growing out of my butt. Like, I can't get it. What is going on? What's wrong with me? The answer is there's nothing wrong with you. It's not you. It's, you've got the right tools to make something happen. You have the resilience, persistence, the determination and the discipline to make it happen, but it's just not happening. So what does that mean? You do it over and over and over again until you get it right. You find another recipe, you find another baking pan, you find maybe it's your oven is off whack. You try to figure out what is going wrong, and you try different things to get to the end result. And at the end, by the time you're done, you're gonna know what not to do. And you're already further ahead than someone who's a complete novice. So what I'm trying to tell you is to have hope, especially if you're falling short, especially if things aren't going as well as you were hoping they would go, and to not give up, because it's really perseverance. The people who make it to the top are the people who just don't give up no matter what. You can tell them no 20,000 times, and they know that on the 20,001 time, they're gonna be told yes. And that one yes is all that matters in the end. And it's just really resistance and perseverance and courage, especially when you feel like you don't have it and you can't seize it and you can't hold it for long enough. Just keep at it, especially if this is something that you want to do for a livelihood or as a creative outlet. Just keep going for it. So that is what I have for you, pile 3. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like this reading, and I hope to see you again on this channel very soon. Hello, pile 4. Welcome to your reading. As the title indicates, we're going to be looking at some messages that your shadow self has for you, and some advice or guidance to help you navigate some of the difficulties or issues that you might have, to identify what the source of those issues is, and to see what advice the cards have for us in general. So we're starting with the 7 of Cups. We have the 3 of Swords in reverse. we have the Hierophant. We have the Ten of Swords. And we have the Page of Wands. Okay, so already I'm getting a lot of messages, and these are going to be very specific, so they might not resonate with you, and if they don't, please check out the other piles. Lots of very interesting messages there that might be more relevant. But really what I'm getting here, and right off the bat, and I'm going to try to interpret these a few ways, but what I'm getting here is that you might be going through a separation, perhaps a divorce, from somebody who really governed your life or structured your life. So this could be a person that you were in a relationship with, dating, married to, but this could also be a paternal, maternal figure, parental figure, extended family, but someone who really set a certain rubric for your life, a certain standard for your life, and governed your wants and your hopes and your dreams, and told you what you should hope, dream, or want. Because the Hierophant is present here, and this represents conservative ideas, ideologies, structured religious beliefs, rigidity. And you have the Seven of Cups here, and I really like the Seven of Cups in this deck, because the Seven of Cups is, a lot of the times, it's interpreted positively, and it can certainly be interpreted positively as, you know, opportunities, wishful thinking, manifestation, all of that. But here you can see it's like a hook in her mouth, and it's a lot darker than the original interpretation of the Seven of Cups. And what this makes me think is that you have no hopes, or for a long time you did not have hopes, desires, wants of your own, and they were governed by either a person, persons, an institution, a way of thinking. It told you, or they told you, what you should want, what you should chase, what you should desire, how you should be, how your life should look like, and it rigidly imposed those constructs onto you. And it wanted you, so much so that you believe, I mean, the Seven of Cups is this wishful thinking card where usually the desires come from ourselves internally. And usually and traditionally in the Rider-Waite Tarot, it's not depicted as all of the cups being full of something positive. So sometimes in one of the cups there will be a snake, in the other cup there's a gem. So you don't really know what you're getting. And while there are these opportunities, some of them are not positive and they do not yield positive outcomes. But what I'm really getting a sense of here is that what you want, desired, or believed you desired was informed by other sources external to you. They did not actually come from inside of you. And the things that you wanted, the dreams, desires, and hopes that you had, were rigidly governed by other people. And when you did not pursue those wants or desires, so for example, if you know, a traditional family was something that someone wanted for you or tried to allocate for you, and that's not something that you want, but you convinced yourself that that's what you wanted and you pursued it and it didn't work out, you feel that great sense of shame and you feel like a failure when it wasn't what you wanted in the first place. So of course it's not going to work out because you don't want it. So I'm getting that sense. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what happened to you, but I get a sense that other people, institutions are informing what you should want or what you should desire. And you have the Three of Swords here in reverse. I feel like if it's not happening for you already, you are entering into a process where you are going to recover from pain. And the Three of Swords can symbolize heartache, which is why I'm saying some of you might be in separation or moving away from that place where someone was telling you how you should be, what you should want, what you should seek, and you're now trying to find yourself. And it's very painful. You have the Ten of Swords and the Three of Swords in reverse. So I feel like, yes, you are moving away from the heartbreak. You're moving away from that space that you're severing yourself from what it is that no longer suits you. It's a painful transition. So it could be that whoever this person is keeps pulling you back and re-injuring you and reopening that wound. Perhaps you're being suckered in, or perhaps they're trying to sucker you in. If it's a bad family situation, perhaps they're guilt tripping you and using manipulation. If it's a romantic partner, perhaps they are doing the same thing. So whatever it is, there is a sense of guilt, and it's difficult to move away from this space into something more suitable to you, more fitting to you, something that makes you feel like you are making the choices in your life and that you're wanting the things that you should be wanting, because they're governed by you and what you want. So the other thing you have here is the Page of Wands, and this is a very youthful, rebellious spirit. And I feel like this is the card that represents you truly. This is who you want to be. You don't know what you want. You might not, or you might know what you want, but it's a rebelliousness. It's something that is an antithesis to that Hierophant card, in the sense that it doesn't necessarily align to what other people have put for you in your path, or what other people have structured for you as what is the desirable outcome. It is a much more sweeter, rebellious antithesis. And I'm hearing the word counterculture. Like, I feel like you're very much, you were set to be a certain way, you were set to want a certain thing, but what you truly desire and what is truly going to bring you happiness, that stems and flows from you and your own innate wants and needs, is going to be antithetical to the stage that others have set for you. And let's see what else we've got. So we have, you are very close to achieving your goals. So again, this could speak to a multitude of things. If your goal is to break away from the structure that has been put in place for you, you're very close to doing so. So even with that Ten of Swords, if it's very, very painful and you're feeling like you're being torn apart, pulled in different directions, you know, manipulated and told that you've made the wrong decision, or no, you have to come back and you have to step into line with what we want or what they want, you're closer to achieving your goal if your goal is to break free. You're also closer to achieving your goal, and it's key that it says your goal. This, whatever it is that you're going to achieve, is going to be truly your own. It's going to be a path that you have made for yourself. And again, I feel like if there's any pain in getting there, it is not because of things you are doing. It's because of the guilt and the entrapments of what other people want for you. And if it's your goal, you are very much, like that card indicates, close to achieving it. The next thing you have is a win-win outcome is forecast. So some of you might be going through a legal battle. Like I said, if you're divorcing or separating from someone, or perhaps you are fighting a legal battle against someone who has done this to you, set certain standards and expectations, or tried to control you in some manner, shape, or form. You might be in a legal battle with them, or alternatively, you might be in a situation where you might be able to reach a compromise with someone who was rigid but is now, out of love for you, relaxing that rigidity. Like if you have parents that set rules for you and wanted you to toe a line and live a life that they wanted for you, it's possible that now they're coming around and they're coming to see how happy you are and how fulfilled you are, and they're gonna also support you, even though it might take some time, it might be painful, there might be discord or fights, arguments, tears. If they love you, they are definitely going to fall in line with what you want, because they're going to see that it is better for you to have what you want and what you desire, instead of imposing themselves onto you, or otherwise you could be in the midst of a legal battle as well. You also have Pillar of Light. Your vibration is rising. You are the Oracle. So again, if you come from an institution or a way of thinking that sets rigid thoughts or feelings or methods or rituals for you to follow, and you're breaking away from that, that could be part of your spiritual journey to break through that and identify that your path is inside of you. It's been coded inside of you. It is uniquely yours. It is not informed by external forces, unless you want it to be. But that, again, that has to be your choice. And what's happening here is that you're finding strength inside of yourself, and you are putting more faith into yourself, or rather you're being called to do that. Some of you might not be there quite yet, but you are being called to put more faith inside of yourself and to stop looking outwardly for other people. And I mean, it's kind of ironic because you're watching a pick a card video, like you're looking to other people for advice. But you know, the point is that if you've chosen to do this, then it's okay. If you're being forced to do it, or you're being told that this is what you should do, then maybe evaluate that. See if that's something that you genuinely want. but you're finding answers within yourself first and foremost. So this is a very beautiful card because, again, like I see her kind of pushing away, like she's got her hands outward, and it feels like she's pushing away from the things in her vicinity and kind of rising on her own. And I think that that's precisely the process that you're undertaking, is that you are pushing away other structured ways of thinking, beliefs, systems, and you are rising to become authentically yourself. Let's see what else. You actually got a bunch of these. So these are, for other piles, it's been like 2 from this particular oracle deck. So this is quite interesting. So it says, sundress, do it for you. So again, this just reiterates what I'm saying, right? Like, you're being called to do things for yourself, because you want to, especially like with this image, which is so incongruent because she's wearing a sundress in a snowstorm or in a very snowy landscape. And again, I think this reaffirms that what you're trying to do might not make sense to those directly observing it. Might not make sense because the people around you aren't part of your tribe. They're not part of people who are similarly situated or think like you or desire the things that you desire. And for that reason, you are incongruent, incompatible, and you don't really fit into that rubric. And you're being called to do things for yourself. And even if they don't really make sense, or they may not make sense to the casual observer or to the community or the people or the person that you are with or surrounded by, this is important. You need to figure out, go within and find what it is that you want to do and go for it. And again, it may be weird. People are going to think it's weird. You might yourself be a little bit, I'm hearing like black sheep, in the sense of you could be born to a family, you know, there could be just destructive cycles that you need to break, and you're born into a situation where you are now going to break them. And in order to break those cycles, you have to diverge. You have to go a different way, because clearly the existing way did not work, has not worked, and you're being called to do it. So look into yourself, see what it is that you feel you should be doing, what feels right, what brings you happiness, and pursue it. Do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else, because clearly it hasn't worked. It hasn't brought you happiness, because if it did, you wouldn't be getting these cards. The other thing is surround yourself with love. And I love this card. So some of you might already have a community of like-minded people, people that are like you, people who think like you, people who have the same interests. Like, it just looks like a collective of witches. So it might be your spiritual community, or your friends, or the family you created for yourself. If you weren't born into a family that you can call a family in good conscience, and you had to create a family that's not blood related to you, but they are more your family than your biological family is, for example, that's your community. But you're being called to surround yourself with love. So do not feel like you can't go into the spaces where you feel safe with the people that you feel safe with. And I feel like you have that community. And if you don't, you will soon need that community once you start being authentic and stripping away the layers of forced thinking and the layers of forced being, really, is the best way of saying it. And you get to be, when you're with a community of people that match you vibrationally, that match you in terms of your goals, your dreams, your hopes, and lift you up, it's going to be carefree and easy. Like you can see, like in this depiction, they're very carefree. They are being themselves. They're wearing their witch hat, or they're wearing, you know, they have their dried bundles of lavender on the wall. Like, it's so open. It's not hidden. It's right there, like in your living room. The first thing that somebody sees when they enter your home is your living room. And it's right there. It's not hidden. It's not in drawers. It's not tucked away. And I feel like there are things that you're hiding that you can't bring out and show people. And you're being called to do that. And you're being called, I'm hearing resistance. I'm hearing there's a resistance to be that way, perhaps because maybe there is a consequence to you being authentic in the spaces that you're currently in with the people that you're currently surrounded by. But you're definitely being called to seek out the people who will support you and elevate you in that way. And then I have, this is going to be a specific message to some of you. And again, you have, take a chance on them. Some of you may be part of the LGBTQ plus community, and maybe that is what I'm picking up on with this divergence between what you're told at birth or what you're told as you're growing up, or what society tells you you should be versus who you truly are. So from some of you, you're being called to be authentically yourself in that way. Perhaps there's a person that you want to be with or you want to pursue, and you're being asked to take a chance on them. Alternatively, some of you, if you are going through a breakup or a divorce or a separation, there's probably a lot of wounds that you're carrying that's making you very resistant to opening yourself up to somebody else, opening yourself up to a different person, and you're being called to open yourself up. If there is someone that you would like to be with, or you would like to, you're drawn to, you're pulled to, but you're hesitant because you've been hurt, you're being called to take a chance on them. That is very clear in this pile. And then again, just to reiterate that message, we have beginnings and love. So for some of you, again, I think there is a new romantic beginning headed your way, or just a transformative beginning where you finally get to be who you truly are and to live in the skin that you truly want to live in. And love, that could be self-love, that you're finally going to learn to love yourself for who you are authentically, truly. And alternatively, it could be a romantic love, a beginning to a new love or a new romantic endeavor with a person that's going to accept you for who you are, mirror who you are, or at the very least, appreciate the differences between you and them and not try to change them to fit them into a box or to a standard that makes them feel more comfortable. And it definitely seems like there's also a new beginning on the horizon for you as well, pile 4. I'm going to wrap up this reading. My battery light is blinking. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you like this reading. Let me know if this reading resonated, and I hope to see you again very soon.